Welcome to the E-commerce Profits Podcast, where we feature top founders and experts in the e-commerce industry and take an in-depth look at the struggles and successes in growing e-commerce brands profitably.
Josh Chin here. I'm the host of the E-commerce Profits Podcast, where we feature top experts in the e-commerce industry, and we go behind the scenes of the struggles and successes in growing a brand. Now, this episode is brought to you by Chronos.agency. If you're a direct-to-consumer e-commerce brand that is ready for next-level growth and to unlock the optimal customer lifetime value through email marketing, Chronos is your company. And we've helped hundreds of brands get over $70 million in return from email alone, and our clients get an average of 3,500% ROI from our efforts. We've worked with brands like Truly Beauty, Elias Skin, The Udi, and many more. Now, the next step is to email us at sales@chronos.agency. You can go to chronos.agency to learn more. Now, today's guest that I have with me today is someone really amazing. I look up to him for all things branding. He has an amazing story that I personally can relate to very, very much. Now, Eric Malka arrived in New York City at the age of 17 with $100 in his pocket on a Greyhound bus. When he was 28, he co-founded The Art of Shaving in 1996, which he sold to P&G in 2009. He has been a passionate learner in the natural health and wellness space for the past 26 years. And today, he's back in the brand business with a brand new venture called Ingredients Wellness. Ingredients is a wellness brand that is set to revolutionize the way we think about product purity. Now, this new brand would redefine what safe products should be. It is 100% plant-based and takes a radically transparent approach to ingredients listing. Eric, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
And I can't wait to dive in. Tell me your background. Now, that's an incredible introduction. Coming into a new country at the age of 17 with just $100 in your pocket, and the United States isn't a small country, isn't a small place to be in for someone who has. You mentioned no background no education. What was that like? Tell me your story.
Well, if you're ever going to experience something like that, it has to be forced onto you, and it should be at a very young age where it's less painful, right? Having $100 in your pocket at 17 is not the same as at 70, right? So, I think it was a blessing for me. For many people, it could be a major hurdle, but for me, it was a motivator. And what I like to tell people about why it was a motivator is because sometimes your best asset in life is not having a safety net, not having a plan B. You just have to make that happen. If you fall, there is no harness.
No choice.
There's no harness. You die. So that's a very strong motivator in life, right? I think the enemy of entrepreneur is comfort. So it was a very uncomfortable situation.
I'm gonna take a segue here, but I think it's really interesting to speak to entrepreneurs who are first generation entrepreneurs and the first generation immigrant, and then building their family and their livelihoods in a new country. Mm-hmm. What are your worries in raising your own kids? Because I know you have two sons.
Yeah.
What's your approach to bring them up and bring up that spirit of resiliency that you had growing up?
It's tough. It's tough to do. They live a life of privilege. But I think that my fire from adversity can be potentially substituted for passion, right? My kids need to have passion about what they do because they don't have the struggle. So it's always challenging to raise children in any environment. And, I take comfort in knowing that against all odds, I turned out to be a pretty good member of society. So I'm hoping, I put less stock into things that people believe are necessary to be successful in life. I want my kids to be happy and healthy and safe. So for me, teaching them how to nourish their body is as important as, mathematics and science. It's a life skill they need to learn. So, I'm fortunate that my wife is also has a similar story to mine, having immigrated to America at the age of 19 and being an illegal alien for almost 8 years. And we come from the same background culturally. So sometimes I don't recognize my own children because they are so American in their culture, but because we are both parents are from the same place in the world, we're able to infuse them with both cultures. And some people even told me that the luckiest kids are first generation, born of immigrant parents, right? They get two cultures. Their children might just have more of the American culture if we're still in this country, right? But they're being fed two different cultures, which creates a little bit of richness in people.
And that comparison, I think, in their experience really allows them to appreciate what's important in life. And that's really amazing. How did you end up being so obsessed with the natural health and wellness space? And I say obsessed with nothing but goodness in it, because I think that obsession is a key trait to success for a lot of high performance, as what I've observed.
Yeah, obsession is definitely, I like this, healthy obsessions are good, right? Being obsessed with your health is good, unless you go way off the rails. But we should be more obsessed with good things, be obsessed with kindness, be obsessed with empathy, be obsessed with health. I didn't grow up in a healthy culture by any means. And I personally suffer from digestive disorders my whole teenage years, which could not be remedied by traditional doctors. And I just lived with it. It was just the way it was. And it didn't change my ability to have a normal life. I just, headaches and indigestions and migraines were just normal. At the age of 23, I was living in Puerto Rico in the Caribbean at the time. And I hired a lady that suffered from chronic arthritis, was condemned to a wheelchair by doctors for the rest of her life. And she didn't accept that and became a herbologist. And through natural means, she healed herself to walk perfectly again.
Oh.
And I hired her to be one of my employees there. And she was also an iridiologist. She could diagnose a person from reading their eyes. And she volunteered to do that for me. And I was intrigued, so I did it. At the time, I was overweight. I was not healthy by any means. And she challenged me to a 21-day diet to detoxify. I didn't realize at the time that it was a strict vegan diet for 21 days. Well, I took the challenge, and for 21 days, I felt really, really better than I had for most of my adult life. And after those 21 days, I didn't even decide. It was like, okay, I'm done with that. I'm going back to my regular diet. And that just couldn't work anymore. So my body completely rejected, the McDonald's
Yeah.
French fries. And slowly but surely, I dived into the natural world and changing my diet first, eliminating certain elements and starting to study it until a year, 2 years later, I became vegan completely and started to really look into um, treating myself with herbs, which at the time was hard. You had to be, it was almost like contraband, right? You had to find
Right.
a health food store in a dark alley somewhere.
Yeah.
There was no Whole Foods and things like that. So that was the beginning of my journey. Then I moved to Miami and I met my wife, Myriam, and she was young too and had similar issues growing up with digestions, and she was vegetarian. And I think that was one of, we had similar cultural background, but one of the things that brought us together is, back in the mid 90s, being vegetarian, vegan, and focused on natural health was not common, especially for people in my culture. So that became the driving force of our family and our union, both in business. She brings that to all our formulation that she creates herself, and we bring that also to our family and to our personal health as well.
One follow-up question that I have, I guess one question that stems from that is, you have been working with your wife since the early days, since pretty much day one, isn't it? Most people look at that, and most people would say that's incredible, that's amazing. And I know of many entrepreneurs who tried working with not even just family members, and it just doesn't work out well. What do you think is the difference in your relationship with Myriam that created such harmony and such a productive, amazing relationship that
yeah, we're like a rock band. I mean, we have huge conflicts, but we create magic, together.
Right.
She's also the best in the industry at what she does. I can never hire better than her talent. She's the she's the LeBron James. I have LeBron James on my team. I win championships. You put me in Cleveland, Miami, LA, I win championships because I have
Makes
LeBron
sense.
James on my team.
Yeah.
So unless your spouse is extremely valuable to the business, it's not something I would recommend for any relationships. Having partners that you're not married to is hard enough, but having a partner that you're married to can create all sorts of conflict. I mean, we've done it long enough, and we have very differentiated responsibilities that we now know how to work together well. And it's been a blessing to experience that journey together, right? Because one without the other would not have generated this kind of success. She needed my skill sets as much as I've needed her skills to create that magic. But it's not easy. It's not easy at all to work with your spouse.
On the matter of conflict, what's your philosophy in managing that? I mean, that applies to not just a spouse, but also a business partner. What's your philosophy in working that out?
I think it's easier with a spouse to a certain extent because you can't just break up the business relationship so easily. You're married, right? So there's another level. Yeah. There's another level of commitment. You need to work this shit out. You can't just let conflict consume you, right? But she's usually right about everything. So that helps.
It always helps.
same. Yeah, it's more of the rules that apply to your marriage than to your business partner that prevails, right? Your wife is always right, and try to say yes as much as you can, unless you're really convicted. You have a conviction of otherwise. But she's good. she's good. She, we have very clear responsibilities and we're very equal partnership. I think that helps in our marriage too, that we've built our wealth together. We met each other when we were young and broke, and we kind of had a common dream, right? So if you take, we have opposite personalities, we have opposite ways of looking at things, but we have very similar values and aspirations and philosophies in life. So that's the real foundation, right? That's much more important than couples that get along. I don't understand couples that get along and have fun together and love doing the same activities. To me, it's more important that we have shared values. We have a deep commitment to the relationship, and we share same philosophies in life, and we want the same things out of life. So that's been really the strength.
That is incredible. Let's shift gears to the business, to ingredients. We talked a little bit before we started this recording. Tell us a little bit more about the philosophy behind ingredients and how exactly is it going to revolutionize the wellness space.
So ingredients really started 26, 27 years ago, when we both independently and then together embarked on this journey of natural health and wellness. And everything we've done in our professional life is to promote natural health. So the art of shaving, was born out of our kitchen because my wife was studying aromatherapy and Eastern medicine and herbal medicine. So she created this botanical oil and essential oil blend for me to apply on my skin, my sensitive skin. And I got the greatest shave of my life. And of course, when we started the Art of Shaving brand, our philosophy was what you hear today about clean brands, but we were very, very clean. We were probably one of the first clean brands in the marketplace and one of the first clean retailers in the US. We didn't call it that back then. So, that was Ingredients 1.0. And every project after that was honing our skills to create ingredients. And the reason why we create ingredients, because we have honed skills that have made us into these outliers in our industry. The game is rigged against the consumer and against entrepreneurs in general, because the personal care industry is built for 10 conglomerate companies. That's who feeds all of the manufacturers. And they've been doing that since the 70s, 80s, and 90s. So a lot of their ingredients platforms, their formulation platforms, are antiquated and are made with a lot of harmful chemicals. Now, as we learn more, as the industry becomes more and more clean, the consumers want more clean products. You have what is called greenwashing, which is contract manufacturers and brands alike are starting to add hero ingredients that sound, aloe or, ingredients that they can market to the consumer, which are in trace elements in the formula. I mean, even clean brands to us are not clean enough because they use safe chemicals. So no one can do what we really do because we have kind of come from outside of the chemical route. My wife has studied alternative medicine, and we've experimented with natural ingredients and formulation for the last 26 years. So we don't go to a lab like most startups and say, okay, we want to create a clean brand, and it's basically private label with customization of 5% of your formula to be some cool ingredients you can talk about, right, in your marketing messaging. What we do is we create formulas in our house or in our laboratory. Right now it's in our house because we're in a pandemic. But a lab and a kitchen are not very dissimilar. So my wife creates every formula in-house, which we test ourselves we source direct ingredients with the farms and the manufacturers, the best producers around the world. And we go to our labs and we say, can you make this for us? Do you know how to put this together for us? Here are the percentages, here are the ingredients, here are the sources. So we control the factors. And our labs are they work with the biggest names in the industry, but they've never done formulas like ours because that's just not how people do it, right? And I believe in breakthrough innovations. If I'm going to do something everybody else is doing, I'm not going to waste my time. I just have no appetite for that. I need to be the only one in the world doing what I do. And that's where ingredients comes in. Ingredients is raising the bar on 4 things: purity, safety, transparency, and fair pricing. And basically on purity, how we're doing that is through our sourcing and manufacturing process. We have 0 chemicals or bio or petrochemicals in our products. I'll repeat that. There are no petrochemicals in our products. Our products are 100% active plant-based ingredients. I challenge you to find any other brand that can claim this. I mean, of course, you have new brands now that are creating oil-based products, which are very easy to make. My 10-year-old can make an oil-based product in our kitchen, right? But if you start using water-based or water-soluble formulas without the use of chemicals, it's almost impossible, right? And nobody does this. So that's purity, right? And we source the highest quality ingredients. Not every ingredient is the same quality, and adulterate it as they change hands over time. We go direct to the source. On the efficacy, our philosophy is to avoid the number 1 ingredient used in personal care product, which is distilled water. So 50% of your bottle is distilled water. How is that going to deliver efficacy, right? It comes out of my faucet, for God's sakes. Secondly, after all that water, you find 30 ingredients in the formulation. Trace elements, 30 ingredients and 50-80% water in a 1 ounce bottle. You're getting nothing. You're getting 0 value, man. So our formulas are made with 8 ingredients or less to deliver those potent ingredients in the highest dosages possible. And that results in maximum efficacy. On the radical transparency, we're basically printing our most secret IP information, our formulation, right on the front of the bottle. The exact percentages, in fact. We're an industry first. That's never happened. No other brand has done that. Some brands have been cute about putting their ingredient list on the front.
Yep.
There are very few of them, but nobody has given their magic sauce out to the public. So the funny anecdote about that is what's driving our direct to consumer right now are industry professionals ordering our products online. So it's so funny, you know. People in laboratories are ordering like there's no tomorrow, like cosmetic companies and manufacturers. So we'll see how that impacts us in the future, but we're giving out our formula. But it takes more than just the formula to make our products. It takes know-how, it takes sourcing the right ingredients, it takes a process to make sure that ingredient doesn't go bad while you're transporting it from those countries to your country and putting it together in a laboratory. I smell natural products every day at Whole Foods that have turned rancid. It's very hard to work with these ingredients. So even if I give you the formula, you might not be able to achieve. And at the end of the day, we want everyone to do what we do, because our goal is to reduce toxicity in the world and to stop using petrochemicals in personal care products. We're basically driving up to the gas station and putting that stuff on our skin, basically. I'm exaggerating, but it's the same source.
Yeah, I get
We're putting plastic we're putting plastic, we're putting petrochemicals on our skin every day, and that is creating havoc on the environment, and it's creating havoc on our health. So that's unacceptable. And then we don't believe people should pay a premium for water. You know, why are you charging $200 for a serum that's made with 83% water and a bunch of chemicals? That's just not cool. In my book, it's not cool. It's not honest. So we take a fair, and listen, our product, I'm selling a serum for $48 and I have a 92% margin on it. I'm not trying to cut my margins to bring that price to the consumer, right? I'm not competing on price. I'm just trying to be fair. You know, I need high margins to be successful, but I don't need to charge you $150 to make you believe that this product is more precious than others. I'm pricing it in a fair manner for my company and for my consumers. And I work very hard to keep my cost of goods very low so that I can bring that value back to the consumer. And we do that by being experts at sourcing and controlling the formulation so that we know exactly what we should be charged for this.
It's incredible.
So
I have a question about that. When you say that now people are, seeing the secret sauce and the secret formulations, and I agree, I've never seen that being done. When you mentioned that to me the first time when we spoke back in last year, I was like, well, are you sure you're doing that? That sounds pretty crazy, and that sounds unsustainable. I'm not sure if I've said that exactly, but that sounds unsustainable. Now, do you say that with worry right now, or is it more of like, this good? It's exactly what we need.
I don't worry because everything I do is driven for the interest of the consumers. So as long as I stay on target, I know I'm going the right way. I'm doing the right thing for the consumer. We trademarked the word ingredients in multiple categories in many countries around the world because we believe consumers are becoming more conscious about what they put on their bodies and inside their bodies. And because they have a right to know exactly what is in the products that they consume every day. So that's my driving force. If I get copied, the consumer wins, I win. If, at the end of the day, at the art of shaving, my mindset was to be the number one in my category. If I'm not the best at what I do, I shouldn't be doing it. With ingredients, I want to be the only one in the world doing what I do. It's a very different lens to look at. And I think that's how, if you want to build an iconic brand, I think that is a lens you need to have, right? You don't become Tesla or Apple or Amazon by improving on what other people have done. You do it by having breakthrough technology driven by why your purpose is so important to you and consumers. And I think that's what we always try to do with our brand, is focusing on the well-being of the consumer with breakthrough innovations. And breakthrough innovations can come in many, many forms. And that's what ingredients is about.
So we talked a little bit about building a brand versus building a company. Now that's something I'm personally interested in as well. At Chronos, in my company, we think a lot about operations and systems and building a sustainable business that serves our customers well. But we rarely think about branding and the way the world perceives us. That's often a side product of the good work that we do. That's what most companies do, right?
Yeah, of course. So I'll illustrate what branding means, right? Ford Motors sells 1.2 million cars and has a market cap of $35 billion. Tesla sells 20% of their volume. So 250,000 cars a year, and their market cap is $350 billion. That's branding. That's a difference between building a company and building a brand. When I sold The Art of Shaving, we were losing a lot of money every month as we scaled the business. Profits never came into the conversation when we were selling the business. We were selling brand equity. 90% of our purchase price was brand goodwill. Wow. So a lot of entrepreneurs, and I speak of this as much as I can, most entrepreneurs don't understand what branding means. Like the convenience store around the corner from your house is a brand, you know, whatever their name is, David's Cafe or whatever, that's a brand. Every company in the world is a brand. There are millions and millions and millions of brands in the world. There are only a handful of brands you know and respect and admire. Those are iconic brands. In the history of the world, we track the 100 most iconic brands. Coca-Cola. Now you have Google, Apple, and Tesla are making that list. Gillette was one of the 100 most iconic brand in history. So that's the difference. The value that you generate from building a brand is extraordinary compared to building just a company. And the mindset and the vehicle to do that is completely different than building, you know, when you build a company, customers might come first, profit comes second, sales comes third, etc. Right? When you're building a brand comes first. It's a little bit, I was using this analogy recently with someone. I was saying, what's the most important thing in your life? And they said, my children, my family. I said, no, it's your health. Without your health, your children and your family is irrelevant. Branding is the same thing. Yes, your customer and your profits are essential to your livelihood, but without branding, it's a moot point. Branding is your health. Your customer are your children.
You know? That's amazing.
So
that's a really good analogy.
So people don't understand. A lot of people think that they're building a brand, but they're not. Because the only way to know that you're building a brand is that there is intangible value that can be monetized by just your brand name. Forget your company's assets, forget your company's EBITDA, forget your revenue, your growth rate, your CACs, your CRTs, forget about all that. Can you just sell your brand for an extraordinary amount of money because of what it's worth in consumers' mind and for what it stands for? And it starts with purpose, right? And nowadays, in the 80s, it was all about deal making.
Deal making.
Well, you're a big deal maker. You achieve great success and all those things. Today, it's shifted from being a great deal maker to being a purpose-driven founder, right? That's who we see have the greatest successes. Most obvious are Apple and Tesla, and very purpose-driven, iconic brand. So that's my 2 cents on branding.
That's incredible. I think I learned a lot in this short conversation in branding that I had ever. You talked about being a brand being a company or a brand where no one can really do what you guys do, and I guess that's what sets you apart. And even beyond that, it sets you on a unique space where you're just incomparable to anyone else. It's similar to how I guess the world looks at Tesla today, they don't think about Tesla versus like other EV companies. Tesla is on its own as a brand. Now, how do you get to a point like that? So we talked a little bit about purpose and passion.
Yeah,
but
it's very much about purpose and how you bring that purpose to life in products. So you usually buy a Ford because of price, size, specifications like that. You buy a Tesla because you identify who you are with that product. It goes well beyond the product. It is an affirmation of who you are as an individual on this earth. It represents you. It's a coat of armor. And you can only achieve that with consumer. You can only achieve that level of advocacy and obsession. A lot of people talk about culture nowadays, but they forget that cult is the first part of that. That's what you're creating. You're creating a cult following. It is people, and I'm very humbled, but also used to getting emails from consumers and people that at the art of shaving, and now even more with ingredients, obsessed. We've launched 3 months ago, and I can share with you a dozen emails I received this past 7 days of people saying, thank you for doing this. This is incredible. This is what the world needs. Like people are, it's cult-like, right? It's not, oh, I love your product. It was so useful to me and it did so and so for my family. And thank you. I really love your product. No, it goes beyond that. It goes to a cult status of saying, this is in line with who I am. Your philosophy, it speaks to me as a human being. I believe in wellness. I believe in simplicity. I believe in honesty. I believe in transparency. So that's really how you build a cult around Apple or Tesla or iconic companies. It goes well beyond the product itself. And the product has to deliver, right? The product, you can't just speak to this
claim
stuff.
something, yeah.
I can't just say all these things and not be authentic, delivering on what I'm saying, right? So the product has to deliver, right? There's the first moment of truth, which was what consumers experienced before buying the product. And there's the second moment of truth when the consumer actually experiences and consumes the product. And most brands right now, to our frustration, are almost saying what we're saying for the first moment of truth, but they're not delivering on that. I'm an investor, as you know. You didn't mention strategic brand investments, but I invest in small companies in the clean space. And I see brands all the time, and I have to be a little forgiving with safe chemicals in formulation. I'm okay with that, to invest behind great brands. But I hear founders talk about their brands like it's the purest stuff on earth, and there is not one natural ingredient in their formula. And to me, you can't build an iconic brand like that, right? You can't speak like you're Tesla and then deliver a gas guzzler and a brand that doesn't live to its. So it's no different than starting a religion.
That's really what comes to mind. Yeah, it really is.
It is not different. It's not different than starting a cult or a religion, except you're trying to do it you're not trying to do it for the wrong reasons.
and yeah,
but it is culty.
It is a little bit culty. Some of the most successful brands that we have in our portfolio as well at Chronos have an incredible following of obsessed, raving fans of what they do at the company. And and obviously the brand listens. It's a loop. It's a cycle. It's not just a one-way street. But what I've come to find is that conversation that happens between customer feedback, saying, I love this. This is amazing. This is what you should do next. The brands respond and create stuff that people love and people ask for. And I think that loop is so important, and it's so unique in what we do today. I think we take things for granted, like with the whole DTC world and e-commerce, but the feedback loop is so quick today because of thanks to email, to social, to all the tools that we have.
Yeah, it's an interesting topic, one that I have conflict with. So we don't believe consumers know what they really need. They know what they want. They know what they want, but they don't know what they need, especially when it comes to health. We're the experts. We're doing the hard work for 26 years, so you don't have to. Apple and Tesla do the hard work for 25 years, so we don't have to learn how to build an electric car or a computer. We just trust that they know best, and they're doing the hard work all day long to deliver that to us. So I don't believe in focus groups. I've never built products or brands because of what consumers were asking for. We build our products and our brands primarily because, and this is something somebody told me recently, which was very eye-opening. He says, he's a coach of mine. He says, you know what good looks like. You know what good looks like. That is hugely important, right? How many people create something that is just not good? So if you don't know what good looks like, you're in trouble. But I know what, my wife and I kind of know what good looks like, and we can't find it in the marketplace. The marketplace cannot satisfy the most discerning client with the highest standards. And that's what we try to fill. We try to bring to market things that we wish we could find in the marketplace, what we think are good for our health and wellness, right? And we believe that if we do that, and we're that consumer, that other consumers will appreciate that. And that's why our philosophy of building our companies has always been driven by education of the consumer. We don't sell products. We sell philosophies, we sell our purpose, we sell our lifestyle, and we sell all that wrapped into education. We believe that when a consumer understands what they should look out in consumer goods to protect their health, to get the best results, to get a fair price, and to know exactly what they're buying, if we educate them on that, they're going to turn to us and say, well, it makes sense for me to buy your products, because that's what you're delivering. When you're just selling products, you're like everyone else. You're just shouting in a crowd, and today the crowd has gotten so much bigger, and the blowhorn has become so accessible to everyone in the world. Everybody's shouting, nobody's hearing. So you don't have to shout, you don't have to yell. You just have to say something different, something that people need to hear right now, to have that conversation. And that's why we created Ingredients, because my wife and I wanted to have a platform to speak from. We didn't want to say, for the last 10 years, we've been criticizing clean brands. We're happy the clean movement is growing, but we've been criticizing clean brands. We're not going to be critics. If we're going to have a voice, we need to bring something to the marketplace that is what we're aspiring as a standard. And then we can speak from that platform and say, this is what we believe should be and how it should be. And that's why we created Ingredients, for consumers to reduce toxicity in their daily lives and to have a platform to educate and empower everyone to lead a more natural lifestyle in pursuit of optimal wellness. That's our mission in life.
And that's a big mission. And I believe that, and we spoke a little bit about this as well, but that definitely would come with some struggles. What are your biggest struggles right now in building ingredients as a direct consumer ecom brand?
I don't really have many struggles. I have regular challenges, which are part for the course, right? You know, the beauty of this new company versus the one I built when I was younger and bootstrapped is that I used to be focused entirely on the destination with the art of shaving, selling my business as soon as possible for as much as possible. That was my obsession. With ingredients, my obsession is the journey. I'm enjoying every minute of every day of doing this. I mean, you know, I'm present with you right now. I'm not thinking about any of the challenges for the rest of the day. And when I was developing the brand with my wife, people were asking me, what's your strategy? What's your distribution? What's going to be your pricing? What's going to be your exit strategy? And my answer would be very simple. I am not thinking about any of those things at all. I'm spending 100% of my energy on creating the most incredible brand the world has ever seen. Because if I'm able to bring out something extraordinary, everything else will be easier or irrelevant, right? You want to create something so incredible that, you know, I always say that my job as a CEO is just not to screw it up. You know, we're creating something extraordinary. I just have to not screw it up. You know, the rest will, and it is happening. People are approaching me every day to do business, and opportunities are opening themselves up. And you know, we had 10 articles written about us last week alone. So I don't have a lot of, I've had 6 VCs, including, you know, some of the major players in my industries call me to get on board. I don't need the money, but I'm like, I'm flattered, but dude, we haven't even generated, you know, sales yet, basically. You know, we're barely out of the gates. So, you know, at the end, I'll tell you, it was magical. We everything was just aligning, and I don't know why that is happening, but I do put a lot of weight on the fact that, first of all, my wife is extraordinary at creating the best formulas in the world. She's worked with some of the biggest names in the world, and they can't touch her. She has impeccable taste. We have very rich history of learning and of passion about this category. We've been lucky to learn about branding, not just building companies, but branding and creating iconic brands. You know, I'm the only person in the history of the world that had a license of the Gillette brand given to me. I own the Gillette brand on their contract for the premium marketplace. Anything outside of mass, I owned the brand for a few years before they bought the company.
Wow.
So for us, it's about creating such an extraordinary product, such an extraordinary brand experience, that it makes my job as a CEO pretty, I'm not going to say easy. You know, it's always difficult to build a company, and there's challenges, but I'm not dragging 1,000-pound boulder behind me. I'm kind of hanging on in the back of the car, being dragged. That's what I want, you know?
Yeah.
Don't let go, you know?
That's a really good analogy.
That's what They call me Mr. Analogy, by the way. If you spend
Really
enough
good
time with me,
analogies.
you'll be annoyed by analogies.
No, it's good. I love that. It's how I learn as well. I have I think in kind of visuals, and I think most people do as well. So this really helps. And I love the
Yeah, if
fact
you
that yeah, I can literally imagine you going like behind a car.
you don't want to be that guy like moving the boulder up the mountain. I mean, something's wrong. You
And
know.
identifying that first piece, that first domino that you need to, the biggest domino that you need to hit, um, to knock off even bigger dominoes. That is incredible. How do you think regular, like day-to-day DTC brands that you see on the streets today could do a little bit more of what you advocate and less of what the whole kind of direct consumer, direct response world has created today?
You got to start with your purpose. You got to start with the why. If you don't lead with why, you're not going to become a great brand. You're not going to become a great company that's admired. The basic elevator pitch speaks of introducing yourself quickly and then speaking about why the consumer cares, about listening to you, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yeah.
all about their interest. It's all about the why you're doing this for them, right? It's the purpose of your mission. If you start with the goal, I want to be a $50 million company by year 5, you might be rich, you might be successful, but it's not sustainable. It's not fun. It's not adding value. You should start by saying, how is my unique talent adding value in society? How is my unique talent I've developed adding value in this society? That's why I'm doing what I'm doing. I can afford not to do this. I was driven by financial freedom when I was younger. As I said in the beginning of the podcast, what's motivating me today is passion, purpose, not money.
Amazing.
The funny part about that is that when you're obsessed with passion and purpose, you get a shitload of money for it. So
yeah, that's the opposite.
So it's like, if you want to create tremendous wealth, don't focus on money. Focus on how to add value to your life and to society by being driven by a purpose greater than yourself and a passion that consumes you.
Now, here's a tough and maybe annoying question. If you could go back in time and speak to Eric from in 1996 or 1995, before you started the art of shaving, what would you tell him?
Enjoy this journey. This is a journey that most people will never experience in their life. It's a journey that most people dream of experiencing in their entrepreneurial life, and truly enjoy it. Truly be present in that experience, because when we're young and foolish and desperate, sometimes we're focused on the destination instead of the journey.
I think I can relate to that a lot at this stage.
And it's a luxury too, right? I don't want to be hypocritical. I'm in a stage in my life financially where I can afford to enjoy the journey more than the destination, right? But I would tell my younger self, just, I understand what you're obsessed, and you need that obsession of success, but also try to once in a while stop, take it in, breathe it in. It doesn't happen to everyone, and it's a magical journey. For me, it was having Neiman Marcus call on me in 1998, was, those, there were some magical moments. The New York Times article and the Sunday Times, 2 pages about my little store on 62nd Street. That was magical times. I remember reading the article the night before, and my wife and I were like, "Oh, I don't like the way they wrote that. Oh, that's why did they say that?" Or being very critical, and then chucking the newspaper to the side, not knowing the tsunami that would happen the next day for our business. We used to do a couple of $100 on a Monday morning in our store on 62nd Street. That Monday we did 10,000, and we did that kind of number daily for months. We had no idea, but
Incredible.
I had 800 retailers that I did business with at the Art of Shaving, and I didn't know many of them. I didn't know the buyers. I didn't know the owners of the little stores. My teams would have those relationships. Now I speak to everyone I do business with. I have a relationship with them. I understand who they are, what their business is about, and I'm building relationships. So it's a very different mindset, and with age comes wisdom a little bit, right?
That's why we're listening to you. And yeah, that's a really, really good, good reminder, and kind of look back at what you've achieved and done. If you had here's a fun one that I'm stealing from Tim Ferriss and his podcast. I'm a big fan.
Love him. Big fan.
If you had a billboard in the middle of the busiest highway in America, what would that billboard say?
Super easy. It's my tagline. Less is so much more.
Less and so much more. Why? Does it stem from what you're doing in the ingredients, or is that deeper than that?
It's what this is where I've grown to become. I try to live my life right now with the mindset that less is so much more. I used to be in a more is more, and now I'm in a less is more mindset. And it is definitely the driving force behind ingredients. And that's why we adopted it as our tagline, because less ingredients means more concentration.
Yep.
Less information means more transparency. You can go on and on. Less chemicals means more safety. Less design means more. You can go on forever with less is more as it relates to ingredient. It's the driving force behind everything this brand stands for. And this brand is just an extension of who we are as people. It's the manifestation. It's the what do you call the avatar? It's the avatar of my wife and I. The brand is our avatar. That's basically, that is an important piece of branding. You can't create this stuff in a marketing lab. It has to be who you are as a person.
That's incredible.
Authenticity.
That I think like you mentioned, a lot of brands kind of struggle with that authenticity and being true to who they are in both the first moment of truth and the second moment of truth. What are some brands that you look up to that you think are doing a good job with branding and staying true to their purpose? Well, besides the Teslas and Apple of the world.
In my space, you mean, or in general?
In your space, if you have an example, if not in general.
I really don't. It's sad to say, but I don't admire. I mean, I think there are companies that are doing great first moment of truth. Mm-hmm. More, the second moment of truth is extremely rare for me.
Right.
it's extremely rare for me to find products that I truly admire to put on myself to consume. Very few. First moment of truth is much broader category. People are doing a great job. Marketers, great marketing, great branding. One brand I love is By Humankind.
By Humankind.
They're trying. Yeah, you should look, not Humankind, but By Humankind.
By Humankind.
He's a couple of extraordinary guys created a brand with the purpose to reduce plastics on Earth, and they're creating products that something to look at. I think they have an amazing way to present their brand, and their first moment of truth is very compelling.
Oh, that's really cool. That's really cool. I'll definitely keep an eye out. And last question. Fortunately, we do have to come to the last final question. I feel like I could speak for hours with you, Eric. It's been wonderful.
You're a great podcaster, man.
No, I'm trying,
but I'm gonna run out of good analogies if we keep going.
I think you won't. It's just good stories again and again. But last question: Are you an avid reader or of books or listener of podcasts? What are your current top of mind reads that you feel people should get their hands on the book as soon as possible?
I've read so many books. I mean, I didn't operate a business for 10 years, so I had a lot of time on my hands, and consumed a lot of content. In the last 2 years, I've been consumed by ingredients, and I've kind of taken a back seat on a well-needed rest, if you will.
Yeah.
Almost everything I read has to do with human psychology, natural health and wellness, or business. On the health and wellness side, I read a book that to me is like kind of the summary Bible of everything I've learned over the years. And I'll tell you what it is. Boundless by Ben Greenfield, I thought was a phenomenal book that explains every area of achieving optimal wellness. On the
Boundless by Ben Greenfield. Nice.
Yeah, I mean, something relevant to what we're talking about. Start with Why. It's a classic by Simon Sinek. Obviously, everybody should read that as it relates to. Here's a book I think is phenomenal for every area of life. Is The One Thing. Have you ever heard of The One Thing?
I have, but I have not read the book. I've actually read a summary of it.
It's a must read. It's one of the easiest book I've read. It takes very short time, but it will change the way you see everything. And it relates to what I was telling you about. What's the one thing I can do to make everything else? What's the one thing I can do with ingredients to make everything else easier or irrelevant? And that's, just creating the best possible brand and product line ever, right? That's what The One Thing is about. So there's so many books out there. The Principles by Ray Dalio is a hard book to read, but filled with great nuggets. You stole a line from Tim Ferriss, but he has a cool book called The Tribe of Mentors.
Oh yeah,
which is a fun read. He interviews hundreds of extremely successful people and asks them half a dozen questions, and then you read 3 pages about each of those individuals and how they answer those questions, and it's a great book to remind you of some great mentoring lessons from great people.
Those are really, really good books. Principles by Ray Dalio is actually the book that we built our company philosophy and culture around. Interestingly, modified in many different shapes and forms to my own philosophies, but radical transparency.
That's where I stole it from, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. It's such a simple. It's written very simply, but it's not an easy read.
Not an easy read, no.
Boundless
but
by
I wouldn't.
Yeah, go
Boundless
ahead.
by Ben Greenfield. No, I was just going to say, Principle is a great read to create a company culture. I think
absolutely,
it's
that's firsthand experience for me as well. I think it's a great philosophy to start rethinking about how we view work and how we build a culture as a company.
Cult.
Ben,
how do we build a cult?
How to build a cult? Yeah, exactly. Cult.
I always take the end of that word out, because then it really resonates. People say, when you say the word culture, you don't get it. When you say just cult, it sinks in right away.
Because it's extreme. It's
extreme. You want your employees, your customers, and your vendors to be completely cult-like obsessed with your company.
That is incredible. Ben Greenfield, that's a good one. He was actually a guest at one of the EO events, the online events that we had.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and that was
really
cool. Really cool. My co-founder Louis is also a big fan. My co-founder is a triathlete, so he's an endurance athlete. He runs a lot, swims a lot, but I'm absolutely the opposite of an endurance athlete. I like strength training and stuff. So definitely gonna check this book out.
And he's gonna make you change your mind on both of those things.
Around endurance and strength training?
Yeah. There's evidence that overexertion leads to reduced longevity. He goes into that a lot. It's super interesting. It's the latest wellness, crash course on everything wellness.
Wow.
I'm definitely gonna check that out. Book, man. Take some time off. That is a long book, man.
Let me have a look. What's this? 1,000 pages?
Goodness. That's a long book, man.
Wow. I'm looking at the Google
it's out of control.
Description here. Wow.
Makes Principle look like a pamphlet.
I'm definitely going to spend some time on that. And start with why. That's actually appeared once in my previous interview with Daniel Harmon, actually, at Harmon Brothers. Oh, yeah. Shout out to harmonbrothers.com. Start with why is it's been so impactful to so many companies. And it resonates with what you've mentioned around starting with a purpose and letting that purpose guide what we do in building the brand. That's amazing. Is there anything else that I have not asked you that you feel could be a value add to the listeners?
No, I think you've done a great job, man. Actually, I'm going to use this to, if you share this recording with me, I'll share it with my PR firm to show them.
I will, yeah.
We could be a good guest on Tim Ferriss's show.
Yes.
Now that we've been on your show, maybe he'll take us.
All right. Shout out to Tim Ferriss. If you're listening, definitely put Eric on as a guest. Eric, thank you so much for your time. If people are interested to learn more about you and your brand, how can they connect with you?
Ingredientswellness.com is our website, and you have a contact there where you can reach our company.
Ingredientswellness.com. Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Joshua. Keep up the good work, man.
Thanks for listening to the E-Commerce Profits Podcast. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get notified of future episodes.